So thanks for joining us, everybody. I am Matt Fowler, the late to the call today executive director of Doorify MLS. And of course, the first thing we're going to cover today is we changed our name. You guys may have noticed that. We've been Triangle MLS for a couple of decades, and we changed our name recently to Doorify for a couple of reasons. Uh, the biggest one is that we were stretched a little far. From Alamance down to Smithfield across the 16 counties is over 100 miles. Um, we also believe that consumers need to understand that MLS is the most fair and open housing network in the world. And not all consumers really believe that today. There are a lot of stories about the MLS and realtors in the papers, in the courts, in the public mind lately. And we would like to tell a different story about the fact that houses that sell through the MLS sell for significantly more than houses that don't go through our network. And Dorify is our vehicle that we're going to use to take that story to the marketplace. Lots of other MLSs have done these. I listed just a few that just are off the top of my head. Canopy right next door in Charlotte is called Canopy now. It used to be Charlotte. There's lots of these that have done this. It's a common thing that's happening. It also came with a new website, a new consumer-facing portal to go along with our consumer-facing brand. Some common, frequently asked questions about the brand is we don't collect leads and sell them back to you like pretty much everybody else online. We're actually the cure to that. We're going to return those leads back to you as a member benefit. Any revenue from ads that are generated goes back to support that brand. We'll never charge you for placement any more than we ever have in placing it in the MLS system. It's a place for consumer-friendly stats that you'll see under the market trends button. We also have a place now for guest blog posts through our partnership with UNC Keenan Flagler and other local thought leaders and influencers coming up. And we have a join button that through our automation allows you to join Triangle in under 2 minutes. So we're working on automation to make member tasks easier. We get together with our leadership and talk about strategic planning quite a lot. We just finished a strategic planning exercise on September 20th with our stakeholders and board, followed by a leadership review of that document on the 25th of October. And then we presented all of it in summary form to the Triangle board yesterday and have a draft that's going to be approved at the December meeting, along with our financials for next year. So we're all about equity, community, and excellence, and providing consistent and accurate data to the real estate professionals in this market. And we're going to talk about a few things today in our brief deck before we get to questions. The first is we wanted to give you an update on MLS Choice. We did roll out something novel, but not entirely unique. And we're the 33rd largest MLS in the country. For those of you who don't know that stuff about us, we'll distribute this deck later. You can click on the Almanac button and it'll take you out to T3's survey of the industry. That's a consulting firm that publishes this. We were also awarded for a couple of times this year for innovation, once by Inman and once just recently by CMLS this fall. And I want to take a quick detour while we talk about our strategic planning, and we have 5 strategic objectives for next year. And these are tweaked a little bit from last year, and it's really 1 about data and 4 about people. And when we prioritize this list of things, we find that the people really take the majority of our focus for next year. That's you guys. Looking back quickly, we have a 3-year plan that we've just completed. We spent the first year planning things, building staff, working on our governance. The second year, we released a ton of stuff. We automated our billing system, we automated our messaging system, and we released the Choice platform last November. And then this year, 2024, we've been working on making sure the data is accurate and updating all of the front ends of Choice. Paragon, as you know, was just updated. We have Paragon Pro and Paragon Connect. that have been updated to the new standards. CoreLogic's coming soon. Our plan for the next 3 years really focuses on investing in automation. Our current membership is almost as high as it's ever been. We got to uh, just over 15,000 back in November 2021, and we're sitting just under that today. The results of our choice platform are that most people, 76% of our user base, was able to stay on Paragon. Um, and that's a big uh, indication of success for us on our team, because we had to replace the back end of our system for a lot of different reasons. And we didn't want to force all 10,000 people that are still using Paragon off onto another platform like Flex MLS or Matrix. Black Knight, the company that makes the Paragon program, wasn't a candidate for building the next generation backend systems for a lot of different reasons. But even though we used a different company for that, the backend systems that weren't really optional, we had to do that. We were still able to keep 3/4 of our users on Paragon. And the reason we were able to do that is because of these RISO standards. And we talk a lot about standards. I know that's very much inside baseball, and we want to just make sure that we have the drop down list back on subdivisions, and we have primary master searchable in the way we need for it to be searchable. And we're very much focused on those things, but they're really the result. All of those changes are the result of a translation that we had to make. We had to actually, like you translate English to German, we had to go through and look at a long list of terms and match them to terms that were found in the National Dictionary. This QR code is a link to a help document at the Doorify Help Center that lines up the old term and the new term. So this is like English on the left and German on the right. The old term is how it existed in the old Paragon, where you've been familiar with this language in the past for the last forever, and we just translated it. So active adult community is not called active adult community in the new dictionary after translation. It's called senior community. Uh, there are 500, and last time I looked, 540 something cities that have collaborated in what these things should be called. There's a lot of legal research that's gone into it. Um, but it's a way to standardize the names across the country so the software works better. That's what we're going to talk about next. But also so that consumers and realtors that go from market to market don't see terms that they don't recognize. In terms of MLS operations, we wanted to take a moment and acknowledge that we increased dues recently. That was largely because of inflation. Like every single thing in the universe has gone up. We haven't increased dues in a long time. The new choice model is better for a lot of reasons, but it's not less expensive. It requires more people and more technology to make that work. We've also introduced some new services that are expensive, like Forewarn. That's the QR code there in the middle. If you're not using Forewarn, you really should be, and tell your office about it. It's a way to kind of do a light background check on people you might be meeting for the first time, and that's provided with your membership in Triangle. But really, when we sit down and talk to people, I've been going out and meeting with the large brokers who typically want to know what is in it for me. And that's a fair question. And what we were really focused on, and the way we're answering that question, and the reason we went through all this translation stuff in the first place, is that when your company's IT people um, hear about the new data methods that we have at Triangle or Doorify, they're going to be able to have the app in your consumer's pocket, whether it's the app, the Collab Center, or whether it's any other consumer facing app that you might use. Our focus is to make that app the fastest app in the App Store. So we all know that consumers go to certain places online to get information because the alerts come through that platform faster. And we aren't trying to drag that down. We want to celebrate that accomplishment by trying to emulate it. And without translating our data, this wouldn't have been possible. And without getting a new back into our system, this wouldn't have been possible. Um, and with those things in place, alongside Paragon, Matrix, and Plex, we're meeting with Caldwell Banker, with Remax, with all the brands to make sure that they understand that they can get a direct line to what we think of as farm to table local data, and it's sub-second alert fast in the new system. And the new programs that we're releasing, all of them use that data. Flex MLS is already using it. Black Knight, who makes Paragon, is preparing to. They have made promises to us that that's front burner to them. Alan might be able to shed some more light on that later when we have questions. But we expect Paragon and Paragon Connect to be just as fast as Flex MLS shortly. Matrix is working on it. I don't know who will be first, whether it's going to be Matrix or Paragon, but we, at the end of the deck today, we have some announcements that we can make after the board meeting yesterday about products that will all be sub-second fast. And that's our goal. If you're an IT person right now on the call, or you know one at your company, if you know that you buy data from out of state data resellers because you need it normalized across the markets that you are operating in, we can probably provide that to you. We're making a commitment that it's going to be dramatically less cost than what you pay for out of state data resellers now, and it can be sub-second fast. So our commitment is that it's clean, nationalized, or nationally standardized data that's available at sub-second speeds. Um, and I guess the one of the best pieces of news is Alan added this to the slide earlier, is don't forget to tell them that we're really done with the most disruptive things. That translation is what caused most of the turbulence that we've experienced over this last year, and that's a one-time deal. We'll never have to do that again. And from now on, the trends, the new systems that we're adding won't disrupt because they're they're optional and they run alongside Paragon and Flex and the other platforms. So you won't see the level of disruption going in to next year that you saw in 2024. We promise. So when we leave strategic planning, we have a list of tactics that we have to deploy, and we prioritize those based on how well we believe they'll bring us towards our strategic objectives. And 72% of the strategic objectives that we have for next year revolve around improving your satisfaction, improving subscriber user experience. So we plan to have some surveys to ask you about how things are going, and we plan to focus specifically on the things that you tell us you want us to focus on. And the big ones that we are focused on already are really starting with the data in Paragon. So that's really Alan's world, and we've spent an enormous amount of time working on the data with ICE, the people who make Paragon, to make sure that we've got all the issues resolved. Every listing is in the new platform, every photo document, everything is in Paragon and Paragon Connect. So that's first, and we're working on that all the time and making progress, I believe. We have an automated way to look at data and to compare data in one platform to the other, so that we'll know before you have to tell us that there's a field mapping error or a field missing. So I'm not going to go through and read all these. They'll be available in the deck when I'm done. And I notice I haven't finished the customer support one, so I'll just describe that one. We've just had a new hire or two in member services and move some people around. We have some senior leaders that are going to be helping us rearrange our customer support department. Our average call time is higher than we want it to be. Our member satisfaction coming out of support is good, but these calls are taking longer than they should to get answered and then to resolve. So we're spending a lot of money and a lot of time focused on making sure that the customer service experience is A plus. So I just want to describe a few of these, and then we're going to talk about a couple of things that are inbound, and then we'll be ready for your questions. So you may have noticed an improvement to the dashboard recently. That's going to continue to evolve. You're going to see charts and graphs and alerts, blog posts from us to tell you about things that are coming out and changes that you can expect. Um, there are 2 upgrades to CoreLogic coming out. There are 4 new software options that are inbound. There are always improvements to Flex and to Paragon being planned and scheduled. Billing updates and milestones that we need to tell you about. Those are going to appear on the dashboard as alerts and as blog posts. Also, some statistics that will help you understand where the market is and how your performance relates to the market. We already talked about speed and improving customer support. Another area that we're looking into is showing. So we've just extended our agreement with CentralLock, but our usage of CentralLock is lower than most cities that use CentralLock, and we have some plans to talk about why access control is a good idea for safety and for analytics. And we want to make it easier for people to get into the listings they need to get access to inside our area, and also if it's in an adjacent MLS. We're spending a lot of time talking to the other MLSs to make that easier. Listing management is something we've already announced briefly at PropTech, but we're about to release a product in Q1 called the AI Listing Manager that allows you to start by identifying a property out of public records and then upload media associated with that property. And the AI system essentially fills out the input form for you completely. You go through and review it all, do the generative AI remarks, and then push the listing into the MLS system. It's going to be a way that we can push listings into the MLS system if the other way to do it is down, but it's also a really cool way to load listings into the system with less data errors and more fields filled out. That is going to be available to all subscribers at no charge we get to announce starting sometime in Q1. We've already talked a little bit about scaling automation too, to go out and meet with the IT people and make sure that you're using the very latest, fastest data so your branded apps can be as fast as the fastest app in the App Store. The last couple of things to talk about are the things that are inbound. And we just approved a contract with Zenlist yesterday. If, as a member benefit, this is going to be on the dashboard soon, you'll be able to opt in to Zenlist at no cost. It's sort of like an alternative to HomeSpotter, and I think you'll find it to be a fantastic way to search the listings and to share the listings with your consumers, with your buyers. It's got a great buyer portal, and it's going to be a significant competitor, I believe, to Collab Center. And it's using the new data methods, so it's going to be sub-second fast. CMA Snap was approved yesterday as well. CMA Snap is a new CMA out of Austin, Texas, that's available in a few cities nationally, and we're going to make it a premium option on the dashboard. So I know you have a lot of CMA options already. This is just an additional one. I believe this is going to retail for $30 a month. If you do a lot of CMAs and you want a very analytical way to do things like calculate adjustments, this is a fantastic tool to use. I'm a recovering real estate appraiser, and I thought it was a really interesting tool. It's a great example of a philosophy that we have, even with all the other CMA options that you have. This one is one that it's fairly easy for us to add to the dashboard. And if you like it, you can use it. And if you don't like it, it doesn't disrupt any of the other things that you use in any way. Some people might find it really transformational for their sales presentations. I don't know. That's something that we don't want to be the choosers anymore. We would like you guys to try it and see what you think. There is a free trial, so you can try CMA Snap for a month when it hits the dashboard before you have to turn it on with the monthly payments. And then finally, we talked a little bit about the AI listing manager just now. This is a grab from their website um, indicating that the fields are being filled out automatically from tags that the AI system um, sees in the photos that were uploaded or finds in the public record description of the property. So these are all have been tested in their launch market in Atlanta, and they've been found to be able to fill out the listing about 4 times faster with about 70% fewer errors in the listing input forms. So we're super excited about this, and even more excited that it's going to be free and available to all members. Both of those products, ZenList and the AI Listing Manager, have other services that you can buy inside the app, like most apps have these days. But the basic functionality is fantastic, and it's going to be available to anybody who wants to opt into that sometime in the first quarter. So that takes us to questions. So I'm going to rewind and be ready to answer those.
Yeah. So our first
Alan can give me a hand here.
Yeah, our first question, what are the benefits of Doorify to both the consumer and the member? How is the consumer hearing about Doorify? Is there an app?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, how does the consumer hear about Doorify? We plan um, to market the brand as you would any other brand. We're going to use a launch budget, which allows us to target um, certain audiences on social. And as we add more content to our blogs with our guest blog posts from Keenan Flagler and from some of our other partners, we expect that traffic to start to ramp up. We're currently at a couple of million, did the math yesterday. It's like 3.5 million page views a year, extrapolating from our first couple of months. And we need to be more like 30 or 40 million. So I've been doing consumer portals in MLS for a long time, and this one is getting pretty good early traction. And I think the short answer, now I gave you the long one, is that leads are the short answer. Like, what does Doorify MLS do for the subscribers of Doorify? And what it does is it's going to let a consumer connect directly with you without you having to pay for that connection. So we're not going to eliminate lead gen sites, but we are going to interrupt some of the traffic that's out there going to the lead gen sites now, and we'll return those contacts. A customer wanting to work with you, or a customer asking to schedule a showing, or asking for more information about a property. Those follow fairdisplay.org guidelines and go directly back to wherever the broker in charge of the listing office has directed us to send that lead. And in other markets where these sites have been up for a long time, they have proven to be one of the subscribers' best source of leads. It's so good that you may want to talk to your social media managers about boosting your listings on Doorify because pointing to listings on Doorify can be more effective in digital placement. Anybody have something to add to that? Did I answer that question fully?
Yeah.
Cool.
Are we expected, let's see, are we to expect pricing for agents increasing each year due to more and more services provided and monies invested?
No, what a great question. No is the answer to that. I actually think, I mean, I can't see the future, but I don't think we'll ever do another like across the board fee increase like we just did. Uh, we want to go the opposite direction. We'd like to have a basic cable option that was even less expensive per month, that gave the people who wanted access to something that maybe didn't include the call center or didn't include services that you just don't use. Um, Currently, everybody pays for everything because everything's turned on for everyone. And that's the least expensive way to get the price down from the vendor. Give me a price for 15,000 instead of just whoever opts in. But it's a very inefficient way to deliver services to you guys, and we're moving away from that. So it's more like a sushi menu, and you kind of check off what you want. And the fee that you pay is the result of what you've checked. And if you order a lot, then it could be more than what you pay today. But if there are some of those services that you can unbundle and just pick things that you want, then we think that's a more direct, more fair, more transparent way of delivering these services. So I think my answer to that is no, I don't believe you'll see costs continue to go up. I think you'll see them diversify. So there will be people that pay a lot more and people that pay somewhat less.
Is there a planned date on when a subscriber doesn't have to be a member of a local or national board?
Yeah, another great question. And there has been a movement across the country, I think it's fair to say, to drop the requirement at the MLS level that a subscriber to the MLS has to hold a membership in NAR, the National Association of Realtors. Currently, there's no way to separate the three. If you join one, you join all three. So that's a National Association of Realtors membership thing that's well outside of our scope here at Doorify. But we have a plan that we announced earlier in the year. We were the first MLS in North Carolina to make the announcement. We beat Canopy by a week to say that we're going to create a new form of membership that allows people who are maybe investors or commercial people, or for whatever reason, they don't want to join the National Association. They just want to join Doorify. And around fourth quarter next year, I believe the current date is October 1, but we're going to be making an official announcement about that soon. Later next year, you won't have to join an association in order to get a Doorify subscription. And there are, just to expand on that just a little bit, there are 1,000 reasons that you're going to want to be a member of the association. The transaction forms that are copyrighted by the state association are accessible only if you're a member of the National Association. There's a ton of other stuff. So you want to be really careful and talk to your local association about what services you would be missing out on if you were only going to be joining the MLS by itself.
Will there be a point in time where consumers will be able to subscribe in order to access data that is currently not syndicated to public sites? I see where the revenue opportunity could be huge, and I also see where it might empower the public more in the direction of believing they do not need an agent to assess pricing for selling and for offers, etc.
Yeah, gosh, these are really great questions. I'm so sorry I was late today because I hope we can do this for a while. No is the quick answer. I know of, I don't know, 4 or 5 dozen MLS portals around the country like DorifyMLS.com, and I can't think of any of them that have like a consumer subscription level. That's you guys, right? The reason that these sites exist is to connect them to you so that you can provide that kind of information to them. Our content is going to be something like, the 4 things to think about when you list your house in the wintertime, what affordability looks like in Carborough, what, ADUs look like in Durham, things that are housing related, very affirmative to using a professional in the process. I believe that buyers need representation. I think we all believe that. And we're just about trying to tell that story in a positive way out at Doorify. And in no way will we, there are no plans on any roadmap that I've seen to ever expand consumer access to the MLS. The property search tool that we've just done is only the 1,000th website that allows you to search on this property data, except now we get to benefit from it because the rules for this site are written by you guys. Like the board of directors is all realtors. and they make the rules that say what happens to the inquiries that come in from the consumers. And none of those people are going to vote to put anything in the way of that.
How do you boost listings on Doorify like you had mentioned?
Yeah, so what I'm talking about is if you go out to Doorify and you have a new listing, and you just grab the URL for that listing from the top of the screen, um, pointing to the house. When you go into a to Facebook or Instagram to to boost uh, the property to get it noticed by everybody, um, you're currently probably pointing to your own, like AndreaSells.com, and that is going to get less traffic than DorifyMLS.com. So if DorifyMLS.com can be a more effective place to put that listing, and I'm just saying to grab the top, look up in the URL that would point to a listing like this one in Fayetteville, and boost that URL in the social paid digital that you would use, and do a test. But I believe you'll get more feedback on the ones that link back to Dorify than ones that would link back to a site with less traffic.
Is there a planned date on when a subscriber doesn't? Oh, we already answered that question. Is there any tool for buyer loan qualification?
No, not presently in my that I can think of, Alan. There is a product that we're looking at that is called, well, it's from the rate plug people, but it's available through RPR right now. If you log into RPR and do a search on any property, you can see some of the rate plug content. And one of the things you can learn through rate plug is if the loan is assumable. And that's really interesting data. And we're trying to get that information out into the rest of the front ends. It's not exactly what you ask, but we do have access to some mortgage information through rate plug and RPR today.
How will you prevent the consumer from accessing if non-NAR members can join? What is the new criteria for membership?
Yeah, that's another good question. Consumers can't just join Dorify after next year. You have to have a license as a licensed broker from North Carolina or another state, um, or you have to be a licensed appraiser. And we have memberships for home inspectors and property managers, but we don't anticipate letting unlicensed people join the MLS at any point.
Will there be a day where local MLS like Dorify wouldn't syndicate to large search sites like Zillow, etc.? Yes, I know that limits exposure, but it keeps the leads with the agent.
So, I maybe today Zillow is a licensed broker in our market, and they participate in the subscription through IDX. So they receive a feed from us, just like a local mom and pop office would. I mean, they receive exactly the same feed from us as any of our 15,000 other members do. So, as you say, we don't want to limit exposure. And you may have noticed, I'm being a little facetious, but you may have noticed that we have been the target of antitrust regulation quite a lot lately. And we don't think that that's over. And we don't believe that antitrust behavior is good for consumers or good for the industry. So we're trying to head in a non-exclusive direction. So we would like to syndicate into any viable site. So if the partner follows fair display guidelines, which is a non-starter for us, like if you don't, then we don't talk to you anymore. fairdisplay.org is a site that was published by a collection of brokers years ago to tell sites like ours what we're allowed to do with those listings. And we're very careful to follow not just the letter, but the spirit of those rules.
This is not, well, it is a question, but could we get data on which agents outside of our brokerages are showing properties similar to our listings? The ability to target specific buyer agents with marketing would be amazing.
Reverse prospecting function. I know that exists in some of the MLS front ends. We lost a little bit of the global scope of that when we went from one application covering all saved searches to now there are 3 or 4. But still, 3 out of 4 people are still using Paragon. So I think that's still a significant data sample. I don't think we have anything in the front end that I can think of, Alan, that would do more regarding reverse prospecting than that is happening in the MLS front ends. One of our big projects for 2025 is related to analytics and segmentation, and we will be able. Well, it's focused on making the saved searches portable. So the saved searches, currently exist only in one platform, but there is in each platform. Like Paragon doesn't go to Flex, etc. But there is a specification for this at the Real Estate Standards Organization. They refer to it as carts, or like shopping carts, and shopping carts has attributes, and that can be shareable. If we can do that, and that's on our whiteboard for next year, if we can do that, then we could expose that back out to the membership in some way that would allow you to look at global preferences. So that's
Yeah, and I would say, we are working with the vendors to see how can we get access to some of this data and utilize it in an aggregated way. So at some point we will have something like that, I believe.
And then last question, is there an analytic tool that tracks views from all IDX sites?
No, but I think is it ListTrack that has a product? Yeah, ListTrack has a product that would allow you to embed a code that kind of gives you a dashboard of what sites have the most traffic. I think that probably falls under our analytics project. Another RESO project is something called the Internet Tracking Pixel that would allow us to tell you every place that your property is viewed. And there was that other one, Alan, we just saw at CMLS that is it's about compliance to make sure that the photos aren't being served up on a site that isn't in our IDX list, and we can we can crawl the internet with this new product, finding those. That has a byproduct of also telling you how discoverable the existing ones are. So we don't have that today, except unless ListTrack has it as a product, but it's something we're thinking about.
Yeah, it is again tied to the question before about reverse prospecting and how do you see listing activity across the various platforms. So this is we lost some functionality in that because we have multiple platforms now, but it is very, very high on our list to regain that functionality. And with that, we'll also see, are there any ways we can pull some of the same stats from some of the major portals out there. Like we have vendors out there that are doing this, and certainly you can sign up with them directly, but it is certainly on our radar as well.
Yeah, I mentioned charts and graphs for the dashboard earlier. Realtor.com, for example, has a system that would let us pull that data in. I know Zillow at one time published an API, but our goal is to incorporate all that stuff on the dashboard so you can see it all in one place when the page loads. Got time for one more, Andrea?
Yeah, sorry, there's a bunch coming in, so I just want to read through and just see. We have time for one more. Users have had to adapt to a lot of changes over the last year that have resulted in a lot of frustration. Where agents consulted or perhaps allowed to beta test any of these systems prior to full rollout, could we consider that for future updates?
Yes, there were a lot of people consulted. We have a stakeholder council that is made up of 3 representatives from all 5 associations, so that's 15 people. The architecture, so they reviewed everything that made it out to you. I think it is fair to say that the architecture for what we did was not something that we interviewed our subscribers about. The idea of choice isn't something that we ask you if you wanted an alternative to Paragon. It's an architecture that I've been exposed to over my 2 decades of working in property technology. It's something that we've strived for a long time for a lot of different reasons. And that was very much imposed with the permission and knowledge and, you know, encouragement of my board. We are benchmarking against some of the leading, most innovative MLSs in the country, and they're doing this. We beat most of them to it. But as our slide a minute ago said about disruption, now that that is in place, and our the systems that we plugged into that new data set are stabilizing, we have a much more stable future where I'm not going to interrupt Paragon ever again. We did the data translation and that's done, but you'll be able to use Paragon as long as Black Knight or ICE keeps making Paragon. That's not how the rest of the MLS world works. You change every 3 to 5 years because you usually are frustrated with the vendor that you have, and go on to pick somebody else. We've left that world. We now have the top 3 MLS platforms in the country, and you can just pick which one you find is most effective for you. If one is really innovating a lot faster than the other, we can organically migrate over onto that platform without forcing all 10,000 people over. So the way it's going to be released in the future is very much like we're about to do with ZenList. We're going to turn ZenList on. It's completely optional. It won't turn Paragon off. It's not something that you have to use, but we're making it available to you because we think that you're going to prefer it. And you can try it for free. And if it works better for you than Paragon, you can just turn Paragon off and move on to this next thing. So yes, we're going to let you test stuff, but in a bigger picture, we're not going to force anything on you. So beta testing will become less, just less important because you're going to get to try it yourself. And if you don't want to move, then you don't have to. I think that answers that question fully. Alan?
Yeah, no, it's to another question that is being repeated a few times here, and I've been answering, but I thought I might as well just state it live here. So, and it's a question we get a lot since we went live with new Paragon, and that's related to the 1-page report that we have had for years in old Paragon, and there are concerns that it's not there, and we will be bringing it back. But we want to do it right. So within the next week or so, we will be reaching out and doing a survey for people to see what information actually needs to be on there. Because of the changes in some of the data structure, we are a little more limited in terms of how much data we can fit on that 1 page. So you can expect a survey to go out where we ask for some of that information. The intent is to bring it back.
Because
I think there were some other reports. I'm sorry, Andrew. There were some other reports, right, Alan? There's a 1-page appraiser report and some others that we're trying to like put into New Paragon. And sorry, if I add one thing, this comes up all the time. We did a survey right when I got here at Triangle a couple of years ago, and we asked people what MLS they belong to, and 20-something% said Paragon. And I understand where that's coming from, but Paragon is a product written by a software company that we licensed, and like the people that work for me at Doorify they don't write the code. that's in Paragon, when we need changes made to Paragon, we write an email and we ask them to make that change. And we track those and make sure it gets done in a timely fashion, but we can't actually reach into the engine and do it ourselves. If we could, boy, would we? But we can't. We just have to urge them to make those changes. And one of the things they couldn't do is bring the save searches from old Paragon into new Paragon because they say the data was too different. We can't bring all the reports from old Paragon and just copy them over into the new one. It's not like we just it's an oversight or we didn't want to do it. They can't. So these have to be like manually recreated in the new platform using the old ones as a guideline. If that's right, Alan.
Yeah, basically, and the reports are very time consuming to create. But again, we hear the feedback here and understand the importance. So we just want to get it right. So we're surveying people and also to the appraisers because appraisers' need are a little bit different. We will be serving that group separately and will very likely have a separate report to make sure that they have what they need on a one page.
Because
Great.
we were a little delayed, I've had a couple people ask if they can have their question answered. So I'm just gonna there's only a couple more questions.
Sure.
What are there any plans to improve Rental Beast?
I had that in my deck and I didn't have time to cover it. Let's talk about Rental Beast. At the meeting yesterday, at the board meeting yesterday, we've made some decisions. And Alan has been the head of the task force working on this for 6 months, I guess. And the contract with Rental Beast expires in January. The consensus is that we're not moving on with Rental Beast. We are working on a middle ground with them that would allow us to support the 108 people that bought Rental Beast Pro and people that value Rental Beast as a product. But as a group, our leadership hasn't seen the value there. So between now and the middle of January, you're going to see the ability to add rentals into the system return to the listing management system. So you can enter listings through a simpler form, not the Rental Beast one. And exactly what happens to Rental Beast and when as a product in our market will determine in the next couple of weeks and get the announcement out. But we are moving on from Rental Beast and we'll be bringing rentals back into the MLS compilation, somewhat like it was before. There's another service called Rent Spree that does tenant screening and some other services that we're talking about adding. They're not the same thing. They don't have a property search or the ability to interact with the property management applications or any of that stuff. But I think, do you have anything to add to that, Alan, for this meeting?
Yeah, just that we do recognize that we do have users of Rental Beast now, and we do have people that have signed up for Rental Beast Pro. So within a day or two, you will see a survey go out to everybody where we are asking users or subscribers if they're using Rental Beast, how they're using it, and whether or not they recommend that we continue that service or if it is not essential to their business.
Yeah,
So that
I'd forgotten about the survey, Alan. Thanks for adding that. That's going to hit your inbox today or tomorrow. We'll send you a reminder. It's going to close on Monday. So just make sure you watch out for that. We want everybody's feedback. If you love Rental Beast and you would hate to see it go, please let us know that in the Monday.
Will we get back the price analyst feature we had previously?
I think there is something in New Paragon that has a price it right function, but the current one, and there may be more than one answer to this. Maybe Alan can help us, but the current one is available through, or there is one available through Domus today. I can put a link to that right here. So you can see it. Here we go. And I
Yeah.
have mentioned a couple
There's
of
something
times.
in Domus too as well, Matt,
Yeah,
where
that's the one I was mentioning, Alan.
oh yeah. And then sorry, yes, in Paragon there's some functionality.
Mhm.
Well, no, there's not. That was in the add edit module. I apologize.
So that's this thing. And you have to pick a property. I'm going to pick Durham because I live in Durham. So I'm building a house right now in Durham. And this is live television. So if you've got a house with a proposed market value of 745 and it's 2,200 square feet, you can see very quickly how that fits in these two light blue lines. That's out and to the right of the center of the market. It's 86 percentile for price and 90 percentile for price per square foot. And this is a fantastic way to give a buyer or a seller a quick look at where you are in the market. If you're an outlier, what you'd have to do to the price to get closer to the middle of the market. So really interesting pricing tool with the ability to export this um, to a consumer presentation by copying it or printing it. That is on the dashboard under market analytics. It takes you to Domus and it's the option on the far right.
Um, last question, could we get stats about how many Triangle agents are using each of the systems? I'm under the impression that just about everyone is still using Paragon, but it would be nice to have that data.
Yeah, I actually publish that periodically. It was on LinkedIn yesterday. 76% of our users today are using Paragon. Um, about 16% are using Flex MLS, and the balance, about 7%, are using Matrix. And that is primarily because of that's what they were using before. There were no people using Flex, but they've been exposed to it by being members of Regional. Regional uses the Flex MLS platform as well. The 7% of the core of Matrix people, almost all of them were Alamance people that stayed on Matrix when they merged in. But I heard from someone the other day who would switch to Matrix because they moved here from a market that used Matrix, and they logged into Paragon and didn't know where anything was, saw that Matrix was an option, and they said they feel like they're home again. They're able to use the new triangle data, but through an interface that they're more familiar with. We love that aspect of choice.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this town hall. I have shared with a couple people that we will be doing these quarterly. So the next one will be next year in 2025. This is recorded, and so you will see this recording go out in our weekly email, which is Monday. And again, very much appreciate everyone sticking around. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning, but we really appreciate it. Alan or Matt, do you have anything to wrap us up with?
No, I'll just say thank you for your patience. We get a lot of feedback from our membership that is positive. A lot of people appreciate being able to use new products and services. But for the most part, looking back from where I'm sitting right now on November 13th, um, you haven't seen the best parts of the project yet. What we did between November 29th last year and today, for most people, 76% of them, what you've seen is a lot of disruption. And that's stopping. And what you'll see now are with ZenList, the AI listing manager, CMA Snap, some other projects that are inbound, is new, faster, better ways of doing your business that are alternatives to these more old line legacy even software platforms like Paragon. So we would just beg your indulgence to while we smooth Paragon out as much as we can. We would encourage you to show the other platforms, the consumer portals on the other platforms to your buyers, and ask them if the Flex portal or the ZenList portal makes you look better to them as an agent. And ZenList might be the thing that that causes your buyers to become more loyal to you next year, because they see the expression of your competence in the better user interface that they have to look at their daily alerts that come through. There's a lot of ways to do this besides the Collab Center, and we just encourage you to, maybe take some time when the market is not really blowing the doors off, to spend some time looking at these alternative platforms, because some of them are no doubt better than the ones you're using. You want to add to that, Alan?
No, just want to reiterate what you mentioned earlier, that we are past the disruption part here. So life will get easier for everybody going forward here. And the only other thing I want to mention, just because it's been asked a lot of times, subdivision auto pop and drop down will return. We're working with our vendor on that, so we don't have an exact time frame on it, but it will come back.
And that's a result of the data sharing that we did.
Yeah.
We had a nice clean subdivision table that we could put in a drop down, but then we imported longleaf data and Alamance data, and that would miss listings if we did that. So we're working on it, and we listen to what's coming through the help desk and prioritize them every day and make sure that the tech team is working on those things the next day. And subdivisions in there. Well, we have a couple of updates, Alan. The searchable first floor master, that's due November 22nd. Is that right? Is that next week?
Making it required, yes. You can certainly search on it now, but making the field required on listing input is on the 22nd of this month.
So if you have a listing and you didn't open the room table to indicate the level of the master bedroom, if you open that listing again, you'll be required to make that change. So, and all new listings, of course, have to have that. So we'll have that searchable on November 22nd. I think that's it.
And Andrea, we're going to follow up with answers to the questions we didn't get to, right? I don't know if you mentioned that before, but we will follow up.
Yes, we actually have all of the questions and answers that will be linked to this recording as well. So if your question did not get answered, please make sure to look at that email on Monday, and it will have a link to everything. Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks again.